And we are back. The New York Gun Guys podcast. Welcome, everybody. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, NYGunGuys, all one word. Like us, follow us, subscribe. Check out the other episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we are there most likely. And if not, let us know. We will get on there. And if you are boycotting all that nonsense that big tech is doing, that's great. And you should also then follow us and listen to us on Podbean. Okay. Did it all in one breath. That was tough.
That was pretty impressive.
Thank you. So I'm John. Taylor's not here today. He is on daddy duty. So instead, I have Steven. I actually I messaged him. I actually just told him to be here, and he was like, "Cool."
Yeah.
And then and then
it's
I
very
told
rare
him,
when you actually invite me.
I know. And then I told him, put on your radio voice because you're gonna be in the hot seat today.
So this could go either two ways. This could either be like my breakout performance, or it's like we're never letting Steve back in the studio ever again.
It will probably go that way.
Probably.
We're never letting you back on.
Either way,
you will be you'll be condemned to the.
I'll be banished.
Yeah, you're gonna be exiled to the seat over there where you just push buttons and write shit down.
Yeah, I just watch the levels and write down and
you
pick out stuff to cut out when Taylor curses or says stuff that's way too inappropriate for a podcast.
Yeah, we won't even go there. It's terrifying. Some of the things he says.
Oh my god,
he's gonna listen to this and be like, "Wow, guys."
Yeah, it's just gonna turn into the roast of Taylor. He's not here.
Oh God, yeah, he can't. He's not here to defend himself. So let's hit him hard. All right, so not Taylor. Wow,
it's already
here we go. You don't look anything like Taylor. This is gonna be hard because you're sitting in his seat. Taylor, he's sitting in your seat. If you're listening,
I think we're both more horizontally different, so I think that's a start right there.
Yeah, you're a little thinner than him.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Hey, sometimes it's, girth isn't always a bad thing.
Those are words to live by right there.
All right, so Stevie, Steve-O, whatever can we say Steve-O legally? Because Steve-O is Steve-O?
Yeah, he just had like his 13th year of sobriety, so why not?
Oh, good for him. Congratulations,
good for
Steve-O. Steve asked me, so what are we talking about? And I told him, well, let's talk about some laws. And he actually brought up HR8 and HR1446 right now in Congress. So you kind of read through them. Let's start with HR8, because that one's kind of, I guess it's less controversial.
Yeah.
So do you remember what that one was about?
So HR8 was really just about expanding background checks for private sales.
Right.
So let's just say if I want to sell you my gun, I can't do it privately. We can't just, meet in a parking lot, exchange kind of information. You give me the money. It has to go through a gun shop. There has to be a background check.
Right.
And basically what that is kind of a light registry. Would you agree with that?
So I wouldn't say it's a registry. And I wouldn't say it's a registry because there's no list of things that are, the government's not keeping track of, what you have. So here in New York State, we actually have, this is already a law, right? So I can't sell you a gun right here, right now. We'd have to go through a gun shop, and we would have to, we'd have to transfer it to each other, pay the transfer fee. We talk about that all the time. Mm-hmm. So no, I wouldn't say this is like a soft registry. I think that, if people say it is, it's just nonsense. It is going to create more, I guess, paper trail for it's hard to say. I wouldn't say it's not. It is a paper trail in the sense of you're going through, you're doing a transfer, right? So it's on paper somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then the way that the government would be able to get a hold of that is they'd have to go to the gun shop. They'd have to look through all the papers because it's not something that could be entered like digitally into a database. Okay. So no, it's not, it's not a registry. But we already live with this here in New York State. Like, I think of all the things that they could have pushed, this is probably the least offensive for gun owners. What do you think, Stevie?
No, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, I have very little experience in that, so I wouldn't be able to elaborate too much on it. But out of the two bills, it's definitely a lot less of an infringement. It's a little bit easier. But yeah, I mean, basically, layman's terms, you cannot sell your own asset to somebody else without a background check. It's all about transfers.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I was making fun of. Did you listen to the other episode? I was making fun of Taylor because he kept hitting the table, and of course I hit the table today. But yeah, man, I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, I don't think this. I mean, out of all the things, like this is probably I would say that this is gonna have the least amount of what's the word I'm looking for, like pushback from gun owners. I can see how it would piss off a lot of people, and I just think that this is just going to be mass non-compliance with this. What's stopping? Look, if we live in the backwoods of some random state in the middle of nowhere, and you meet me, at my at my barn, like who's going to know?
Yeah, like you were just saying, there's not going to be a lot of pushback on this. I just feel like with some gun reform, what we want for gun reform is just get rid of a lot of these just weird, vague gun bills, because there's nothing wrong with this, but it's just too many hoops to jump through.
Yeah,
criminals are not going to abide by this anyway. It's not like they're going to go through a background check. It's not like, oh, okay, I've been a criminal, I've been breaking the law my whole life, I want to give my friend a gun to go commit a crime. Oh, we have to go get a background check, and we'll probably get denied.
Yeah,
that's what we always say.
Right. And
criminals are going to find a way.
Right. I think most of the pushback on this will be from people who are just like, it's none of the government's business what I own. So why do I even have to go through a background check? On the other side of it, could this possibly keep guns out of the wrong hands? I mean, if you're someone who's not going to buy the gun illegally per se, like off the street, right? So like, let's say you're a felon, and whatever it is, and you decide, I'm going to buy a gun, but I'm going to buy a gun from my friend. So you just do it. You're not planning on doing anything horrible. You're not in a gang. You're not going to do anything crazy, but you just buy a gun. It's not going to prevent that, because someone can still just buy a gun.
Okay.
But I guess I could see from their point of view, that from the government's point of view, that they just want a way to be able to prevent certain people from, I guess, getting the guns. I just don't think it's going to make a difference, because if at the end of the day, if you want to buy a gun, Stevie, you're going to get one way or the other. We always say that, but like I said, if you live in like the woods and the sticks somewhere, even in upstate New York, like who's stopping you from like going over to your buddy's house and like you buy, you even if you trade guns, like, oh, you have this gun and he has this gun, oh, you want to trade them, something that this bill has in it, which was interesting, that the New York Safe Act also has, is that you can transfer a firearm to a family member, mother, father, son to son or daughter to parent, whatever, with no background check.
Yeah, there was a little loophole or an exception in there, where a weapon can be gifted to a relative, and it also said someone.
Stevie.
I'm sorry, I'm looking into my phone.
So
my bad.
Hold it up. He's not used to having that type of shape in his.
I'm not.
So what are we gonna say?
I got to keep my eyes on my notes here, so that way I can make a good impression. And it says someone who is in imminent danger. That was one of the exceptions in there.
You could transfer it. So you could transfer a gun if who's in. Just read the little section.
Yeah, it says that there's an exception, which is where a weapon is gifted to a relative or someone who is in imminent danger.
So you can give somebody the gun, or someone who's in imminent danger can give. Because I think when
you can give it to someone who's in imminent danger, quote unquote.
So like if I'm standing next to you and I have like 2 guns and I give you one to defend yourself against a horde of like zombies, the government won't come after us and get you for,
I guess,
an illegal transfer.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I think what that also might have to do with is, if you, let's say you go over your buddy's house, right? And he's a gun guy. He has a gun. Let's say he has a handgun of some sort or a rifle, whatever. And he's telling you like, hey, dude, like I'm suicidal. I feel like I might kill myself. And you take his gun. There was a reason for you to take possession of that firearm without a transfer, right? So you took his rifle because he was in imminent danger of committing suicide potentially. So that's one of the aspects where I think that kind of comes into play, where the government's saying like, look, you need a transfer to own this firearm. However, if you are in a situation where you need to give a gun to somebody to prevent them from dying, or you have to take a gun from somebody to prevent them from dying, then you're covered. You're gonna be clear.
Okay.
I that's kind of the impression I got. I don't know what's in their state of mind. I'm actually surprised it's even in there for like if you are giving a gun to someone who's in imminent danger, because like most of the time we get the impression that like the government just doesn't care about us at all.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised it's in there, but there might be a way for them to kind of like quell some of the gun owners saying like, well, what happens if I'm in this situation? Like that makes you a felon all of a sudden, that type of stuff. But overall, I think that this one isn't the worst possible thing. I'm curious what Taylor would have to say about it. He'd probably be like, fuck that. No. Taylor, I don't know, he's like a 10th degree gun guy, he's like,
So I've noticed.
Although I'm big into firearms and I definitely, support the Second Amendment, this type of thing doesn't bother me as much as some of the other things. Especially, it doesn't bother me as much as HR1446, which we'll get to in a minute. Did you have any other thoughts? This is not a long bill. It really doesn't do anything. It just
it's pretty short, pretty simple. Like you said, it's not as bad as 1446. It's something that probably won't cause a lot of outrage. It's just now that President Biden's in office, the wheels are starting to turn on everything.
Yeah.
I think this was brought up in 2019, but obviously It got passed down. But now that the Democrats have control of almost everything,
right,
it's the first of many.
Yeah, and honestly, it's probably going to pass because it's not something that hasn't been done before. It's like I said, it's been done in New York. I mean, this is part of what it is, New York Safe Act. Yeah,
both were pretty tight as far as voting on it. I'm not super sure. You think it's going to pass?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is going to pass. I think that this is going to pass because it's not something that's wildly like, I think gun owners who are a little bit more lax, who aren't like, 9th and 10th degree like Taylor, will be more a little level on this and say like, okay, well, you know what, like that makes sense, right? Like, especially if you live in New York and you're already dealing with this, which don't get me wrong, like it sucks. You're going to have to bring the gun somewhere. You're going to have to pay a transfer fee. You're going to have to go through the background check. It's another step that makes purchasing a firearm just like that much more of a pain in the ass to where people might not want to do it, right? But will it keep guns out of some people's hands who I'm sure get guns? It probably will to a degree, but they'll probably at the end of the day, if they really want a gun, they'll just find a way to get a gun.
Yeah.
Like I said, like if you're a felon, Stevie, which you might be, I don't know.
You don't know
me. I haven't ran your history. But like let's say you're a felon and you're like, oh shit, I can't buy my neighbor's gun anymore.
Yeah.
I've been doing it this whole time, but I'm not gonna do it anymore. And like no, like that's never gonna happen. Might your neighbor say like, oh well, I can't sell you guns anymore, so like, maybe that's like kind of like the angle, like maybe more legal, like law-abiding gun owners will be more hesitant to break that law and transfer a gun to someone who like just shouldn't even have a gun. I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You look like you were about to say something, but decided
kind of.
again. What were you saying?
No, because going back to what you said, criminals are always going to find a way to get a gun, and it's just more to keep tabs on who has what. I'm surprised that you said it's not really a soft registry, though.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you see this as a registry?
Well, isn't it just because change of ownership, keeping tabs, keeping updated information on people who are owning guns? Isn't that kind of what it is?
I mean, they have that now, right? So like if you go to a gun shop across the country and you buy a firearm, you go through a background check. Some people might say that, oh, that's a soft registry because technically there is a single piece of paper with your name on it that you purchased this gun. However, it's not a registry in the sense that the government can just pull up, a database and search it and say, oh, Steven has 3 Glocks, a 10/22, and a Mosin Nagant. Let's go get him. Here are the serial numbers. Let's go knock on his door and take his guns. That is what a registry is. A registry is like, okay, Steve, you have 3 Glocks. What are the serial numbers? Okay, good. We're going to put this in a database. That way, if we ever have to come to your house, we know what you have. If you become a felon, we know you have these firearms and we can come take them from you. Or, God forbid, government goes out of control, which some might say they are now, but the government goes out of control and decides we're going to confiscate all guns. Oh, let's pull up this registry. Okay, everybody's, bring in your guns. And then one by one, they go through. Steven walks up. He brings in 2 Glocks. And they go, Steven had 3 Glocks. Means he still has one. They come knock on your door and they go through your fucking shit and they take, they find your Glock. Or you don't come at all and they say, Steve's on the list of someone who didn't submit any firearms to our confiscation efforts. I wonder why. And they knock on your door. So that's more of a registry. There's laws pertaining to like governments being able to go in and search through those documents for the actual background checks. The government doesn't have access to that. It's just the government, the store keeps those records. So like, let's say you go to like Joe Schmo gun shop, you fill out the paperwork, you buy a gun. All the government sees is Steven a legal, like, is he a prohibited possessor, basically? And then the government says yes or no. They don't know how many guns you bought, what it is, if it's a handgun, or they might know if it's a handgun. But actually, I don't, it's a good question. I'm not sure. Taylor might know if they know it's a handgun or not. I mean, you can't own a handgun anyway unless you're 21, so they might not even know. But can you own a firearm, or you found whatever? And then they pretty much like spit back an answer to the gun shop saying like yes or no. And then you could, in theory, say like, oh, I don't want to buy this gun anymore and walk out. The government would never know. So, no, I would say it's not a soft registry.
Okay. All right. And like you said, this isn't as bad as the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that's if I kind of skimmed through HR8. I didn't see any. Did you see anything else that said that there was like a database of anything? I didn't see anything like that. It just says to require a background check for every firearm sale.
Mm-hmm. Prohibits a firearm transfer between private parties unless a licensed gun dealer, manufacturer, importer first takes possession of the firearm to conduct a background check.
Right, that would be the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love how they call this the Bipartisan Background Check Act. Like, does it? Let me see here. Co-sponsors. Oh, of course. Good old Nadler right on top. Democrat. Oh, there are Republicans on this. Yeah. Interesting. Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technically, there's 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans, and the rest are it's just the D all the way down the line. So I guess, yeah, in theory, there are Republicans that are on this bill. Does that really make it bipartisan if, like, 99 out of the 100 people who signed it are
I think this one had
Democrats?
3, and then I think 1446 had like 8.
8 Democrats?
8 Republicans.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So I don't think this one's as crazy as 1446. You want to tell us about 1446?
All right.
So this one, I think. There's a lot that goes into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this has to do with the Charleston loophole.
Yes.
Right. Now everyone knows what happened in Charleston. The guy, what did he do? He went to like a church, right? He bought a gun. Mm-hmm. He went to a church and he killed a bunch of people. Was it a handgun? Was it? I think so, right?
I think it was a handgun. Yeah, because he walked in. He worshipped with them, and then obviously he
did the deed.
Yeah.
The horribleness.
Of course.
Obviously, we don't condone anything like that. It's inexcusable, and obviously we hope that something like that never happens again.
Yes, and basically the Charleston loophole, correct me if I'm wrong, it was he waited 3 days, it was inconclusive, it was incomplete, right. And then because it was after 3 days, they gave him the gun.
Right, so now
sold to him.
Right, so right now what happens is basically you go in for a background check, and the government has 3 days to provide you an answer whether you can or cannot own a firearm. After those 3 days, the decision falls on the gun shop, right? So the gun shop would say, okay, we're going to sell you this gun anyway. And then, they would sell you the gun. Or the gun shop can decide, no, I'm not going to sell you this gun. In this case, the gun shop sold the guy the gun. A lot of gun shops don't do this. So, like, after the 3 days, let's say you don't hear anything back, a lot of gun shops will say, no, like, we're not going to sell you. They're not obligated. A lot of people think that they're obligated. A lot of liberals will say, oh, they have no choice. They have to sell you the gun. No, they don't. At the end of the day, it's a business that they could refuse service to you if they decide that, or if they have a feeling that you shouldn't own a firearm, right? Mm-hmm. So they're saying like the Charleston loophole was that the guy waited the 3 days, he didn't get an answer, the gun shop sold him the gun anyway. He took the gun and he did what he did. Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton was like really big on this when I think when she was running for president, was it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so she was saying, she
Yes.
said it in some press conference or something somewhere that, that the FBI, her exact quote was the FBI needed only one more day to prevent this guy from purchasing the firearm. And it was like discovered like 2 months later that they didn't need one more day. They needed 2 months to find out why he would or why there was no answer, basically.
Yeah, Clinton said that the FBI needed one more day to prevent him from buying the gun that he used to kill the people, but the FBI stated it actually took 2 months for them to find that there was a clerical error that followed the purchase.
Right. So there was a clerical error.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have taken 2 months, right? 2 months. It's a long time. So what 1446 aims to do is add basically a 10-day waiting period.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to up the 3 days to the 10 days. So instead of 3 days before the gun shop can allow you to purchase the gun, they say it's going to be 10 days. However, there's a little caveat to that. So it actually
Can't always
says
be that easy.
right. I mean, I don't think that there should really be a 3-day waiting period at all anyway. I think it should be. There's a reason why they call it the instant check. I mean,
Yeah,
it's supposed to be instantaneous. This is a right? We don't ask for permission to speak. To use our freedom of speech. I mean, right now our freedom of speech is severely under attack from the left. But
as Dave Chappelle says, the Second Amendment is there because in case the first one fails.
Right. Well, the Second Amendment guarantees the rest of them, right?
Yep.
You're not going to have a freedom of speech if they take away your guns and you don't have a Second Amendment, because that one will, once the Second Amendment falls, the first will be soon to follow.
Yep.
But so this goes from 3 days to 10 days. However, what it says is after the 10-day waiting period, if you don't hear an answer back from the NICS check, that you have to petition the government. And then they have an additional 10 days to give you an answer, and only after those additional 10 days, if they fail to give you a final determination, which is what they call it, they say you have to file a petition for a final firearms eligibility determination, and if an additional 10 days elapses without a final determination, then the federal firearms licensee may transfer the firearm to the prospective purchaser. So, in essence, this is. They're calling it 10 days, but it's fucking 20 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how anyone can not realize that.
And it's so backwards how even after 10 days, if you don't get an answer, you have to petition and ask their permission.
Right, pretty much. Yeah, so I was talking to Taylor about this, and he was saying, well, that puts the burden of proof on the person and not the government, but I don't see it that way at all, because you're not saying to the government, like, the government's not saying, hey, we couldn't make a determination. You prove to us that you can own a firearm. No, that's not what it is. Mm-hmm. The 10 days is elapsing, and you're pretty much saying to the government, hey, I need an answer, or I'm going to be able to purchase this firearm. And then they'll have an additional 10 days. It's still 20 days. I mean, this is not increasing it from 3 to 10 days. I mean, the summary of this bill says it increases the amount of wait time from 3 business days to 10. It's not the case. It's 3 days to 20.
To them, just the longer that you do not have a firearm, that's a win for them.
Oh, yeah, of course. But it's just like the idea that they could say, yeah, it's 10 days, but it's not at all. It's 20 days. Mm-hmm. I guess the way they get around that is they, restart the time. You say, okay, well, the 10 days is up, so now you have to, file a petition. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And there could be scenarios in the future where if more incidents happen, and they say, okay, we went from 3 to 10,
right,
or basically, 10 to 20, that didn't work. How about we move it from 20 to 30 or 20 or 30 to 40?
Right.
Once you give them the permission to let you know what your liberties are, you're getting into a dangerous game there.
Yeah, we've talked about it before where it's like, okay, so whatever. Most people will say, you know what, fuck it, it's 10 days. I know I could purchase a firearm anyway. I've never had a problem. I purchased them before. So 10 days, it's not going to make a difference to me anyway, so 10 days is fine. Right off the bat anyway, it's 20 days. But we've talked about before where it's like, okay, so first of all, this Charleston thing happened, and this wouldn't even have mattered. So the fact that they even reference it, at all, the fact that politicians say, oh, this is in regards to that, it wouldn't even have made a difference. This has nothing to do with the Charleston massacre anyway. It took them 2 months to figure it out, right? So that's 60 days.
But you know what they're going to do? They're going to play off people's emotions. They're going to play off people's fears.
Of course.
If they just call it, if they just put a bunch of numbers on it, that probably won't invoke such a reaction. But if you call it the Charleston loophole, that's going to make people think, oh, well, it happened in Charleston, then we
Right.
can't let that happen again.
Right. I mean, this bill is a direct response to the Charleston massacre. The actual name of the bill is the Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021. Again, that's HR1446, the 117th Congress, 21 to, I guess it's 22. What do they have it listed as? Yeah, 21, 22. 2021 to 2022 session. But we've talked about this before and you're exactly right, Stevie, where they're going to say okay, well, it's 10 days. And then all of a sudden something else is going to happen. They're going to say, man, the government only needed 5 more days. So let's make it 20 days because it would have prevented this. And then all of a sudden it's going to be oh, man, the government only needed 25 days. So let's make it 30. We'll just cover all the bases. And while we're there, we'll bump the petition will be for another 30 days too. And then now you're looking at 2 months. And all they have to do is double it and double it and double it and keep adding time because sometimes things just happen. I mean, we have human beings that are inputting this data, so what happens if they get something wrong along the way? The Charleston loophole basically happened because of a clerical error.
Yeah.
So this is not stopping any clerical errors. Clerical errors are it's a human mistake. You made a mistake, Stevie. When you input information, you made a mistake. So this is not stopping that at all. All this is doing is saying okay, we're going to take 20 days to just double check. But like I said, it really just doesn't even apply to the Charleston loophole at all.
Mm-hmm. And the kid's name was Dylan Roof. Was that the Charleston shooter, I believe, right?
I don't know his name.
Okay, so it's probably Dylan Roof. I mean, it always goes back to it took him 3 days, but this kid had mental issues. He probably would have gotten another way to either get a gun.
Sure.
And he had a little bit of a background, I believe, nothing too violent. But when they described this, they said that's going to keep our children safe. It's going to keep our community safe.
Right.
They call the gun epidemic a public health crisis.
Yeah, they call it a public health crisis.
When in the end, it's a mental health crisis. That's what it all goes back to.
Well, I just love that they call gun issues. They call it the gun violence epidemic, and the gun violence is a health crisis of the United States. Like you were saying, it's how the guns have been around forever. Guns haven't changed. I'm sure the way they look has changed, but there's always been guns since before the formation of this country. There's been guns. And it's not like we've seen, all through our history, ridiculous amounts of, school shootings and massacres and all this other shit. I mean, we talked about in a previous episode, me and Taylor, that, schools used to have shooting teams. And you could put a gun in the back of your truck, hang it in the cab of your truck, a shotgun, and then, leave from school and go hunting in the woods with your friends. And it was never a problem. Why now is it a problem? And I think, Taylor and I discussed it in a previous episode, the mental health issue is just out of control right now. I think it has to do with people aren't, people are on their phones and their computers all day. People don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to deal with being able to work through problems. There's a crazy amount of bullying on video games. Have you ever video games are it's like a cesspool, dude.
It is.
Have you ever listen, man, I played my fair share. I'm big into video games, especially when I was younger. Dude, some of these video games, the shit that gets said on video games to other kids is terrible.
We recently, in my family, I have 2 brothers, and we just got into Halo. Or that's what they like. That's what my brothers like to do. They like to play Halo on the Xbox.
Okay.
And it's 4-on-4 Slayer. It's ridiculous how
what they say.
What they say, how they will slide into your DMs if I get 4 kills one round, and they're just gonna attack you. Are you kidding me? I don't even know you.
It doesn't make any sense. But when you're younger, you're not the youngest, right?
Middle.
You're the middle. So how old is the youngest?
From middle child syndrome.
Well, I knew there was something wrong with you. What is so what? So how old's the youngest one?
18.
Oh, okay. So he's pretty old.
Yeah.
Damn, Stevie, how old are you? 21?
Yeah.
You're
21.
a baby.
I am.
I'm about to turn 30, bro.
I know. You old as shit.
I know. Don't remind me. You know what's cool? My wife is actually planning a cool 30th birthday party for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did she tell you about it at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Did John tell you about it at all?
John did not know.
Okay. I think she actually now that I'm thinking about it, I think she mentioned that she mentioned it to John and you. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm surprised that John didn't spoil it for you. I don't know if I was going to be able to say anything or not.
It's not a surprise. I mean, I don't know too many details. She asked me about it. She was like, "Do you want to know what I'm planning or not?" And I was like, tell me what you're planning. I don't want it to be a surprise. Like, I like to know shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for those of you out there who are like wondering what we're talking about, I'm really big into cigar
Yes.
smoking.
We're sitting here next to a deconstructed wine cooler that he's going to be using for a humidor.
Yeah. You can actually turn certain wine coolers, ones with a thermoelectric cooling system, into a pretty cool humidor if you kind of, I wouldn't even, it's not even if like you're savvy at all. Like as long as it works properly, you could just pretty much put in like Spanish cedar trays with like some humidification and it'll hold. This one that I have here though, the thermoelectric cooling module broke, so I bought a new one. It's like a $4 part, and I'm hoping that kind of fixes it. But that's besides the point. I'm pretty much severely into cigars and steak and stuff like that. So she's actually planning me a cigar and steak like dinner night at a restaurant. Should be pretty cool. We'll probably be outside. We'll be smoking cigars and.
I don't care where it is, as long as there's steak and cigars. I'll be there.
Stevie's also a cigar guy.
Yeah,
he got into cigars.
Thanks
I think
to you.
solely because of me.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? I don't even know.
I don't even know how we got here now. But
I don't know how we got here.
1446, right?
See, so it's Taylor keeps me on track sometimes.
He does.
we get.
I'm just letting you go on your tangents. That way I can come back.
Yeah. Bottom line is, guys, is like this wouldn't make a difference at all. So the fact that there's now going to be, potentially there will be a 20-day wait if you get if there's something wrong. And you know what sucks about this, man? If you have like a similar name, like your name is not, your name's uncommon, right? I would say not your first name, but obviously your first and last together.
Yeah.
There's not too many of yous.
No,
but like,
thank God.
let's say let's say you're a John Smith, like the the two most common names, like. Well, what happens to you? Like if you get tripped, you gotta wait 20 days. You gotta wait 10 days, and you have to say to the government, "Hey, can I have my rights? Hey, can I buy this firearm?" And then they have to say, "Okay, well, let me get another 10 days to check." And then like eventually, if they don't say anything to you, then and then you have to deal with the gun shop might not even want to sell you that gun because they might be a little sketched out. So, at the end of the day, your rights could be kind of infringed upon indirectly.
I'm going to take the risk and ask a stupid question. So if it's from 3 to 10 days,
sure.
Is there really that much of a difference? Is it just to ease up on the amount of background checks that gun stores have to do between 3 and 10 days? Or is it just a longer time for you without a gun?
No, I mean, it's not.
Like what else? What are they going to find within that 7-day period that would change
their
minds?
Here's the thing, right? It's not a waiting period like that. It's not a waiting period where you come in and you say, "Hey, I want to buy a firearm," and they go, "Okay, well, you have to wait 10 days to pick it up." It's when you do the actual background check. They have right now they have 3 days to complete it, right? So like, let's say you go into a gun shop, you go into Johnny's gun shop, and you say, "Hey, I want to buy that that Mosin Nagant on the wall," and they go, "Okay, Stevie, give me your license. Fill out this form, and we'll, run the NICS check on you." And you say, "Okay, no problem." And you do it, and it comes back where it's like a pause or a postpone, whatever the designation is. Taylor would know. I don't know off the top of my head. Because it's either they give you a yes or no or like a hold, basically. Right now, they have 3 days to say definitively, "Okay, we put you on pause, but it's going to be a no at that 3-day mark." At that 3-day mark, they have to give you an answer. If they don't give you an answer, then the gun shop can sell you the gun. It's not a waiting period where, like you're thinking, where it's like you go into Johnny's gun shop and you say, "Hey, I want to buy that gun," and they go, "Okay, fill out this form," and then you have to wait 3 days. That's not what it is. So this is solely for situations where they don't give you an answer within those 3 days. They're upping it to 10, and then if they don't give you an answer within those 10 days, you have to ask them, "Hey, why didn't you give me an answer?" And then they have an additional 10 days.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
I think so.
What is your confusion?
No, it's not the confusion. Just I need a little bit more clarity between waiting period and background checks and the whole time frame between that.
Yeah. That's why it says here, it increases the amount of time from 3 business days to a minimum. And that's curious, right? To a minimum of 10 days. A minimum of 10 business days that a federal firearms licensee, or FFL, must wait to receive a completed background check prior to transferring you the gun. So right now, they would have to wait 3 days to get that completed, yes or no, basically.
Okay.
And they're going to up it to 10 days. So it's not a waiting period like you think, where let's say you go to a gun shop and you say, hey, I want to buy the gun. They say, okay, the government said, yes, you can buy the gun, but now you have a 3-day waiting period or a 10-day waiting period or a 20-day waiting period. This is just basically if they can't give you an answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the scenarios, I think it was Jim Jordan who brought it up when he was giving a rebuttal for both these bills, was, let's say if you're a wife, you have an abusive ex-boyfriend, there's some trouble that could happen.
Sure.
That girl wants a firearm to protect herself. If you move it from 3 to 10 days, things could get hairy. She doesn't have a weapon to defend herself.
Sure. But
I think that's one of the scenarios that he brought up. I think it was like 2015 when he was talking about a New Jersey incident where, again,
Sure.
abusive boyfriend,
Yep.
wife just broke up with her, had a kid, wanted something to defend herself.
Right. Was he talking about HR1446?
Yeah, this was about both bills. He brought it up.
Yeah. That would I didn't see that thing that he said, but this is not a waiting period. This is just like I said, it increases the amount of time from 3 business days to a minimum of 10 business days that a FFL must wait to receive a completed background check prior to transferring the firearm. So that's it. If they get the completed background check in 4 days, then if this passes to 10 days, if they get the completed background check, yes, in 4 days, then they would call you, come pick up your gun. If it takes 11 days, then you have to petition. Under the current law, with the 3 days, if it takes 1 day, if it takes 24 hours or 48 hours, they would just call you and say, hey, come pick it up. We got your answer. Or, hey, we got your answer. It's a no. You're going to have to petition for a review.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what he was saying. I don't know if he's confused. Maybe you got confused because you were kind of confusing waiting period with. It's possible. I mean, for someone who doesn't know too much about it, I can understand why that could be. It could just be confusing because we've talked about waiting periods and background checks, and it's a lot of different shit that's going on. But this is not a waiting period bill. I thought for sure that they would try and go for that, but I think that's worse for the gun owner. They probably realize that. I think that they realize that this is probably going to be easier to pass because this is not going to impact most people. It's going to impact probably a small percentage of people, over the whole amount of NICS checks that the whole country does over the course of a year. This is probably going to be a small subsection of people that this actually affects. But I mean, it's still a problem. If you're somebody who, like we discussed, has a common name or there's an issue, you still have to go out of your way to figure out, you still have to wait the 10 days and then you do have to petition and wait an additional 10 days. And they actually don't have a system. I guess they kind of do for like a petition system, but it actually says in this bill that it's going to set up like an online petitioning system to like contact them. And the Attorney General is going to send it up. It says it says you can submit a petition through online resource or whatever, or by U.S. mail through a system that the Attorney General is going to set up. So it's just I don't know. It just wouldn't have prevented the Charleston shooting, man. It just wouldn't. And this bill comes from that.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they want to play off people's fears, people's emotions by giving it a name. That's gonna draw a reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this bill, out of all the bills that they could have pushed for, this one isn't like the worst.
Well, this is going to be the first of probably many. So
probably, yeah. I mean, we have 4 long years with this, and we'll see if they get these through. Then they might push for more.
Mm-hmm.
I sent something to Taylor not too long ago. Let me just see if I can find it.
All right.
Oh, right here. I just sent it to him. I didn't even really read it. Geez, I can't pronounce. Can you pronounce her name? Stefanik?
I guess Stefanik.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's Stefanik.
Yeah, they introduces the Second Amendment Guarantee Act. I think this has to do with like kind of, let me see, getting rid of the New York Safe Act. Elise Stefanik, God, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, has introduced a Second Amendment Guarantee Act, which, if signed into law, would override provisions of the New York Safe Act. Those provisions currently prohibit lawful New York gun owners from purchasing, transferring, and owning legal firearms. The bill would also ensure that states cannot ban manufacture, sale, importation, or possession of any rifle or shotgun lawfully available under federal law. So basically, I think that this is anything that's legal right now, under federal law. That would be, like all these weapons of war and all this other nonsense that they're, all the assault weapons with the pistol grips and all this other shit. Her bill is pretty much, if it passes, which it definitely won't because because this is New York. But, if it passed, it would make anything that's federally legal in New York State again. Pretty much eliminating everything that the New York State Act has, which is pretty good. I don't think that's going to pass, but she's quoted as saying the New York SAFE Act is unconstitutional and a clear infringement on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding New Yorkers. So I don't know. I mean, that would be great. What do you think?
I
know you don't have too much
much
experience in it.
No, you just need someone to work off of today. But I know why that name sounds familiar now. She's selling Andrew Cuomo merchandise right now.
What do you mean? Oh, is it? Let me see.
Take a look at this.
Wanted, the worst governor in America.
She's cashing in on. She's making mugs and T-shirts and.
Wow,
that's awesome. I might have to get one.
Yeah. Wow, look at that. Wanted T-shirt, $25. It's expensive. Well, it's expensive for him. It's not bad for a T-shirt, but the mug is also $25.
$25 for a mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted coffee mug, $25. These are funny.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Well, they have it in black or white.
We're gonna have to buy 3 of them.
Me
and Taylor.
It looks cool in white. Wow, made in the USA. Good for them. Hand wash only.
I'll get you.
I'm assuming this is her. I guess this is her. This is a money raising effort for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's at least for Congress. So if you're in New York, we like her.
Yeah,
she's standing up for Second Amendment rights. But yeah, I don't know. The going on with what she said, the Second Amendment Guarantee Act will not only void the SAFE Act and award New Yorkers with any damages caused by this unconstitutional law, it will prevent other states across the country from further limiting and banning constitutionally protected firearms. Wow. There's no way this is ever going to pass. There's just no way.
Nope.
There's no way. It's way too pro Second Amendment to pass. That it's so sad that we can look at this is so messed up, man. That we could look at laws that are so anti Second Amendment and go, that's definitely gonna pass. That's 100% gonna pass. And then we can look at things that are so pro Second Amendment and be like, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, there's no chance.
There's just no chance. That's sad, man. When we live in that world.
Yeah.
Damn. Taylor would have a lot to say on this episode.
He would. He's missing out on a good one.
He really is. He really is, man. Should have had Taylor here today. What was I thinking? Should have made you the dad. Yeah.
Maybe I am the dad. We don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
You never know.
I'm going to tell Taylor.
I mean,
have you ever met
listen?
Taylor's wife?
At your wedding, yes.
No.
I don't think I spoke to her, but I saw her.
So it was the mere eye contact that she had the baby before.
I don't get why he just doesn't bring the baby here.
Well, because it'd probably be like you when you cry, loud.
That's true. I mean, you already deal with one baby in here, so what's the second one?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll just leave the baby downstairs. I don't know, man. I don't think, I mean, he obviously works full time, so probably having a nice Saturday to just hang out with his kid is probably pretty nice for him.
Yeah.
I wonder what his wife's doing.
But then again, you also worked, 12 hours today, and you're still doing this.
Yeah, but I also don't have any kids. If I had kids, I'd probably tell you to pound sand. Be like, no. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Probably, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not having kids anytime soon, so. But I guess soon is relative. Right?
Well, I don't know if that's up to you.
Who would that be up to? I think I am equal part of that. Yeah, it's not up to me. Who's that up to, Steve?
Well, it's a 50-50 split on who that's up to.
Okay, yeah, it's 50-50, which means doesn't the other 50% have a say? No, you're just shaking your head at me.
Yeah.
Because you know what you said was ridiculous.
4 kids, man. 4
kids.
Isn't that the goal?
Well, my wife had mentioned 4 kids, yes.
God bless.
God bless. Steve, you don't have any kids. You're not even near.
Being 21 is great.
Why?
No responsibility.
You have no responsibility at all?
Really? No.
Really?
Yeah.
You pay for your car?
Yes.
Okay. You pay for your car insurance? No, you don't. You motherfucker, you don't.
Probably not. I'm still dependent.
Probably not. You don't know if you pay for your own car insurance, Steven. You don't know that?
You don't want me coming back here, do you?
I'll just say you go probably not, as if like the bill just disappears. Like
Maybe.
probably not.
We went off on a tangent.
I don't think there's much more to say about HR8 and HR1446. I think everybody should be aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're not. I don't think they're going to get a lot of coverage from gun groups because they're not as bad as other shit that they want to push. I mean, if they had their way, they would just ban like every gun.
Yeah.
They would probably pull like a United Kingdom and just say like, okay, well you can only have 22s and shotguns, which sucks.
Mm-hmm. But you would probably agree that this is probably just laying the groundwork for future stuff to come, right?
I think everything that they do is laying the groundwork for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I politicians, as stupid as they seem and as stupid as like we think they are, they're smart. They know that, hey, we have to do it this way because this will open the door for this. Getting a bill passed and getting a bill amended, two different things, right? So they can very easily they can get a bill passed. Let's say they get this bill passed, HR1446 that increases the 3 days to 10 days, right? They can get it passed and say it's not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. Now down the line, like we discussed, they decide, oh, it's got to be 20 days. Going to be a lot easier for them to say, okay, well the bill's already passed. The bill has already protected. Has already prevented this amount of, guns from being in the hands of people who would do wrong with them. But what we realized is if we had an additional 10 days, make it 30 days, between the 20 days that you would have to wait plus the petition time. If we had that extra 10 days, we could have prevented 50% more. And everyone's going to be like, that's a no-brainer. I was buying guns this whole time, and like it didn't bother me. And then they could say, oh, 5 years, 10 years later, oh, we have this, and we prevented this many, but we could have prevented 90% more if we went to 60 days. And then before you know it, it's just going to be out of control.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get a tick on your thing that you can't. You'll get a little notice that. You have a hold and you have to figure it out why, and it'll be a year before they'll say, oh, well, you need to give us, 360 days, 370 days, 380 days. You have to give us 2 years to figure it out. Obviously, 2 years is a little, it's a little crazy, but
mm-hmm.
I think it would be very easy for them to say, like, once they have statistics for this, to say, hey, we prevented X amount, we could have prevented X amount more. We could have saved this many more lives if we only had an extra 10 days, an extra 20 days, and then all of a sudden you're looking at 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think it's a step I think it's a dangerous step. I think it's just, it doesn't make a difference. The 3 days to 10 days. It just doesn't, like, it's not stopping anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell it's not stopping anything because they use the Charleston loop. They used the Charleston massacre as like the fuel for it.
Yeah.
This is probably the only time this has like ever happened. So they have to it happened and they only needed one more day, and okay, well, like if this is a widespread problem, then why aren't we like listing all the tragedies that this exact thing happened to and using that as the fuel for this fire? Mm-hmm. They're not. This shit probably has never happened before, one time, and then they're just gonna that's it.
If there was a pattern, I agree. If there was a pattern, everyone could get behind it, but just using this one
right
and perching it,
right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that there was another time. Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody out there. If there was another time, I could be totally wrong. I don't recall another time where somebody went in for a background check to purchase a firearm, was a prohibited possessor, but there was a clerical error, and they got no answer, and they were able to buy a firearm, and then they went out and they killed people with it. I don't think that there has ever been another time where that has ever happened. So it's not a widespread problem, okay? This is probably the only time it's ever happened, and this is pretty much taking the failure of a government and punishing the law-abiding citizen because the failures of the government. So, what do you think, Stevie? How do you feel? What are you looking up?
No, I'm just double checking on what you were saying. Nothing's really coming up immediately. Just kind of that one situation.
Right. I think, and like I'm saying, I think that this is, I mean, do I think that people have gotten holds on their account, or do I think that the 3 days has gone by and people who were prohibited possessors have purchased firearms? Probably. There's so many NICS checks that go through that Sure, this has probably happened. Has it resulted in the death of a lot of people or even one person? Probably not. This is probably the only time that's ever happened.
Mm-hmm. And you know that when they're passing these bills, one of the things that they're going to cite is how gun violence has gone up in the last year, basically. Yeah. And we all know what that's attributed to.
Bail reform, 100%.
Bail reform, and then also the riots, the protests, the pandemic.
I mean, there's a huge anti-police movement right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's a huge anti-police movement. I mean, they're you know, big cities all across the country are getting rid of their units that go after guns. I mean, if you're getting rid of the people who go and make gun arrests, then you just have to assume there's going to be more guns on the street, right? And they're arresting more and more people with guns. It's not like more and more people just happen to wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to go buy guns. It's just, you know, there's like more really what I'm trying to say is it's not like cities who are making gun arrests have suddenly gotten better at making gun arrests, right? Like, let's say you've been around for 10 years, you've made X amount of gun arrests on average, and then all of a sudden this year you've made 50% more. It's not like you just woke up one morning and your police agency has just become 50% better at getting gun arrests, right? It's that 50% or probably 100% more of people are carrying firearms because they know they're not going to get caught. So that's a big issue. And then we have bail reform where criminal possession of a firearm, you get no bail for that in New York State. And I think other cities have done the same toward bail reform. In New York State, that is a no bail offense, which means you can get arrested with a firearm. You get booked at the central booking area. You know, you get processed, and then you get a court date, and you go home. Probably within 24 to 48 hours, back on the street with a court date. What's stopping that person from going back, getting another gun, and just going back out on the street?
Yeah, I doubt that's gonna change their lives,
right,
and give them a little kumbaya moment.
Yeah, it's just I think these politicians really have to understand where they went wrong. I think it's going to take a long time for them to figure this out. I think a lot of them have figured it out yet, but they can't really backpedal because it's not in good politics for Cuomo to say, hey, we pushed for this, but it wasn't such a good idea, so we're going to strike down some of it. No, they want to look like they did everything right.
Mm-hmm.
Cuomo obviously has done a lot wrong.
Yeah,
Cuomo is severely under fire right now,
and he's refusing to step down. Even though every single major Democrat has told him, you have to resign, you have to step down.
You know what's amazing?
He is a power maniac.
The Democratic Party is literally eating themselves right now.
Yeah.
Look all through the pandemic, Cuomo was the greatest thing on earth.
He was the white knight.
He was the greatest governor. He was going to be the next president. They were going to kick Biden off the ticket. They were saying, oh, man, he was the love governor. People were saying that, I have a crush on him.
They're Cuomo-sexuals.
Right. Where did you hear that? Where did you hear that?
Have you not heard that term?
No, where did you hear that?
Who's the idiot on Comedy Central? Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah has said that. I don't know how you have not heard the term homosexual.
I have not heard that.
And it's great because, like I said, Trevor Noah, 1 year ago, it's crazy how it's been 1 year. He called himself a Cuomo-sexual, and then 2 weeks ago, he's burying Cuomo. He's talking about how much of an asshole he is.
I have not heard that, dude.
I am
That
shocked.
is so funny. Wow. No, I have not heard that.
And everyone, gathers around at the TV to watch his little press conference,
right,
and blame Trump for everything.
Right. Well, that's obvious.
Yeah.
But it's he was the greatest thing in the world, and now it's coming out that obviously he killed all the old people in the nursing homes because he just made a failure of a decision.
Isn't that just messed up? How the guy killed 15,000 at least old people,
yeah,
but the thing that's getting them in hot water are sexual assault.
Well, that's
claims.
not what it is, Stevie. That's not what it is. It's the fact that for a
He's
year,
in more hot water now.
No. I'll explain it to you. Well, yes, but not for the reasons you think. So here's the problem, right? For a year, everybody in the Democratic Party said that Cuomo was the greatest thing in the world. That he was the image of what a governor should be. How a governor should run the state. How he handled the pandemic was incredible. That Trump should have taken a lesson from him. That he was the greatest thing in the world. Meanwhile, he killed all the olds, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's coming out that he hid all that information and whatnot. The problem is the Democratic Party can't say, we were wrong about him. We were wrong about him. We have to impeach him now because he killed all these old people and he covered it up and he hid things. Because how is that going to make them look? Now they have an opportunity to bury him by all these sexual assault claims and everything. I mean, think about it. Biden had sexual harassment claims too. Mm-hmm. They brushed that shit right under the rug real fast. You don't hear about any of that anymore because he's useful to the Democratic Party. Cuomo is no longer useful because he killed all the olds. So he killed all these old people, unfortunately. But they can't say, oh, we have to get rid of him for that. So they're going to push real hard on these sexual harassment claims because that's the gas that they have to get rid of him, because they can't say we're getting rid of you because of how you handled the pandemic, because they just spent the whole year saying that he was the greatest thing in the world and he handled it like a pro. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Right. That's why they're making such a big look. It's not like he just started sexually harassing people yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, right? People coming out from like years ago. So it's not like this is the type of shit that's just brand new. It's just like it's coming out now and they're pushing it because they don't want to talk about everything else that he's done, which is the real reason why this is happening to him. It's convenient for them,
It is.
He's not useful to them anymore. So they have an opportunity to finally get rid of him because they know he fucked up, and they're using the sexual harassment stuff as fuel for that fire. So yes, obviously sexual harassment is really bad. But for the Democrats, like it only matters like if the person's useless to you or if it's somebody you don't like, right? If it's someone like Biden, oh no, that didn't happen, go away. Like it's like, oh, we don't remember any of that. And
yeah, Cuomo did it with his aides. When you see those videos of Biden and legit kids, that shit's disgusting.
Yeah,
but these
that's
claims
why
are getting crazy.
Yeah, well, I heard now that he like touched someone's thigh once.
Yeah, like the first claim was him asking like someone on a plane to play strip poker.
Sure. Well, here's the thing, right? What he's being accused of, although it's creepy, it's not like it's not illegal things, right? So like he went to a wedding, he grabbed someone's face, he tried to kiss him, but he didn't, right? She pulled away and he let go. Saying to somebody, hey, you want to play strip poker? Like, yeah, is it creepy for an old dude to say that to like a young female aide? Yeah, that's fucking creepy, right?
Yeah.
And he should never do it in like an official. He should never do that as like in his official capacity. He should never be doing that.
Yep.
But is this the kind of thing that is illegal and that he should lose a governorship for? Probably not.
No, not that. But then, like, as the claims keep piling on, you're seeing him invite people to his own private mansion and groping them.
Sure,
it's getting worse.
Right. But the beginning things, and when this whole like impeach, resign Cuomo shit had happened. Those were the initial claims that he grabbed someone's face, tried to kiss them at a wedding. Like that's not, that's I want to say that's not out of the norm for a wedding. Like people get drunk, they do stupid shit, right? And he was not acting in his official capacity by being at a wedding and doing that. So is it something that it was wrong and he shouldn't have done it? He should have never touched somebody. Yeah. He should have never grabbed somebody, tried to kiss them. Yeah. Is that something that he should be impeached for? On a normal circumstance, it's not something that anyone would be pushing for impeachment for. But because he fucked up everything so bad in COVID and it's coming out now after they pushed it so hard that he was like the king of fucking like preventing COVID. New York State has like one of the worst worst death rates. So I don't like you have a state like Florida which has the death rates are like on par with like big city states, right?
And they're more open.
And they're completely open.
It's crazy how strict New York is, and yet the death rate is still
insanely
high.
You would think if lockdowns and all this other shit worked, that Florida would be at the top of the list for death rates, but they're not. Like, so. But that's why you're seeing like a push for this under the sexual harassment stuff, but not because he was killing all the old people, is because they can't say that now. Yeah. It's not good politics. The optics of that are really bad for the Democratic Party to say, hey, we know that we said for a whole year this guy was really great, but he was actually killing a bunch of old people and covering it up. So we kind of have to reverse on that. They'll never do that. So now they're just they're just grabbing at this. Oh, yeah, he was sexually harassing people. So how dare you, believe all survivors, believe all women. I don't think we should believe every single person that ever says anything, because a lot of the time people make shit up. I mean, we see it all the time in law enforcement. People make false reports and allegations, but yeah, we obviously should investigate things.
You have to give it due process. You can't have something like a Kavanaugh accusal where it was a college party, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
And you can't interview anyone. You have no witnesses.
Right.
And it's just all in the air.
Right. And it's great that Cuomo was like, oh, we should definitely investigate that. I'll have inside people who work for me to investigate that. And everyone was like, Cuomo, don't think that's a good idea.
That's how it works.
I don't know about that, pal. And then he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, no, like this guy is a joke. He's always been a joke, but like now he's like really getting eaten by his own party. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And then, of course, you know, his brother, Chris Cuomo, when he was during the pandemic, when Cuomo was king shit, he had no problem covering all about how great his brother was. They were doing skits, you know, but now that it's the sexual harassment stuff, he's like, I cannot cover this. It's a conflict of
I'm not
interest.
going to talk about it. He's my brother.
Right.
Yeah.
So please, this whole thing is a joke. This, like I said, this is about him killing the old people, and this is just a very convenient way for them to just say, hey, Cuomo, you got to go.
I don't know who's worse, him or his brother.
Definitely him.
Yeah.
Yep.
His brother's an asshole, though.
Okay, well, they're all assholes.
That
but
is true.
But
he's
there's
like
one,
the macho.
but here's
I'm
the
going to
thing.
sit down at 9 o'clock.
Sure.
I'm Mr. Morality. I'm going to preach to you about why I'm Captain America and why everything that you're doing is wrong.
You're right. But the problem is his brother isn't the one making laws and affecting your life.
Yeah.
And killing your grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
sorry, Grandma.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Hopefully she didn't vote for Cuomo. She might have.
No.
Do you have any grandparents who are alive? I don't even know. I don't know.
We're diving deep, aren't we?
Oh, God. That's not that deep.
No. Yeah, no.
You have anything else to say, Stevie?
I don't think so.
What
I
time
think
are we
everyone
at?
has
What's it
wanted
say
me to
over there?
stop. We're at now. Yeah.
Oh, we're at an hour.
Wow.
Wow. We got through it. I spoke a lot because Taylor wasn't here.
You did. I let you talk. The more I talk, the more trouble it'd be.
You got yourself
listeners we'd lose.
No, not at all. I think they like hearing from you. It's refreshing.
Sure.
You don't think so?
No. Maybe.
Maybe. We're gonna have you on more.
All right. I did a lot of research for this. I'm not gonna lie. I
wish
I
did
could.
a lot of research and you didn't even say that much.
Well, yeah, because listen, you can't expect me to, because let's face it, you didn't bring me in here for my gun input. You brought me in here to kind of help with social media, with all the technology, and obviously we have similar viewpoints. But
oh, right, you mean like brought you into the podcast world?
Yeah, brought me into the podcast world because little help with the tech.
Well, I like
producer.
You too, Stevie. I like you a little bit.
A little bit.
Sometimes.
I don't think the last hour of you calling me names has helped, but maybe
what name? What name did I call you?
We're gonna have to look back. We're gonna have to go back.
Call you anything. All right, guys. So that's all we have time for today. We have an hour with me and Stevie, mostly me. Stevie, you did a good job, though. I will say, for someone who's not,
it was fun.
Yeah, for someone who doesn't normally do this, it was pretty fun. We had a whole interview with you way early in the podcast.
I think that was like episode 8.
Jesus,
it was.
I think
we're almost hitting on 50. This is like episode 46.
I think this is 45, 45 or 46.
Crazy.
That's a lot of podcasts, man. That's almost 50 hours, or probably a little over 50 hours of content.
And we're growing. The Facebook, even Instagram, which is a lot slower of a build.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just like harder to come across us.
Yeah.
Basically, because at least on Facebook, when like your friend follows, like you might get like a little, hey, your friend follows or whatever. Easier to share too. Like you could just share stuff to a message or share like, hey, join this group or whatever. So if you guys are out there and you have a Facebook, please share the page, invite your friends who have similar viewpoints to us. NYGunGuys, all one word. That's on the Facebook. Like us, follow us there. Also on Instagram, NYGunGuys, all one word. You could definitely like us there. We post a lot of pictures. We're going to be posting another one today. It's about Taylor. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you will know Taylor's story of the time he accidentally purchased a firearm off a gun broker, and you know that he also purchased a lot of guns off a gun broker in general. So we're going to be posting a funny little meme I made about him on there. And it's funny, the meme we just posted, Taylor sent me, it actually got a few comments.
Yeah, it did.
Our video on Jerry's firearms got a lot of comments. A lot of people on Facebook and Instagram were like just giving their 2 cents about it, and I get it.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
It is. People are acknowledging what he did was wrong, and that he obviously did price gouge, but they're also going to back him because you don't want to bow down to the people who want to take your guns, all that. Yeah, that got the picture that we posted yesterday got 5 comments. That was kind of funny, and then Jerry's firearms, same thing.
Yeah, the Jerry's Firearms actual like show is episode 44, so this is going to be episode 45. Did you mess up the thing on the video? Or does it say 45, 44?
No, this is going to be 45, yeah.
This is going to be 45, yeah.
Yep.
It actually did pretty good on the downloads. I got 105 as of today, and it's been out for, I guess, it went out Monday, which is pretty good. The one right before that, you guys, if you haven't checked it out, it was a really cool episode. We had a federal law enforcement officer that came in, and we did a whole interview with him. He's a good friend of ours. Great guy. He's actually gonna be coming back, I think, with his brother, also in law enforcement. We talked about, kind of his training. He's also military, so we're talking about his training, everyday carry, things like that. That was really cool. And then so definitely check that out. Episode 43, and then 44 was about Jerry's. We kind of just talked about some fan fiction theories that I have, and then some things that are based a little more in fact and what we really think that this is all about. And that's pretty much it. You can find us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, NYGunGuys, all one word. Pardon me, I burped. Stevie's just right in the middle of the outro. NYGunGuys, all one word. Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you can find a podcast. Check us out on there. And also, Stevie's going to shake his head at me. If you're boycotting big tech, check us out on Podbean. The link will be on the Facebook. You shook your head at me before when I said that during the intro.
Yeah. Because big tech is getting out of control now. I completely understand that.
They are.
Not 100%. Shaking my head at you.
Yeah,
Don't
okay.
worry.
This guy rolled his eyes at me.
I'll roll my eyes at you for different reasons, but not that reason.
Oh, okay, good. All right, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stevie, thanks for coming and spending an hour with me in place of Taylor for...
You better watch out.
Why?
I might be your new co-host.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So Taylor
you might have to stay home.
I'm just going to stop texting Taylor now.
How the turntables...
Yeah. Me and Stevie are really big Office fans. If there's any Office fans out there, let us know. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time. And as always, be safe.